We want to get straight to the breaking news, that provocative move from North Korea overnight. Look at this map. The ballistic missile is believed to have landed somewhere in North Korea's eastern sea.
The timing of this launch, hard to miss. It came right as President Trump and the Japanese Prime Minister were sitting down for dinner at the president's private resort, Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, the two appearing at a brief and pointed news conference shortly thereafter. People in Japan watching that news conference live.
President Trump is facing challenges on many fronts this morning, with protests across America over immigration raids and threats to Obamacare. Also overnight, both Meryl Streep and Saturday Night Live weighing in a lot of material for SNL.
Indeed. We've got team coverage of all of this morning. George is standing by, but we're going to start here with ABC's David Wright, who's with the president in Palm Beach. David, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan and Paula. This was North Korea's first ballistic missile test since President Trump took office. And it's tough to ignore the timing here, right in the middle of Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's visit here at Mar-a-Lago. Certainly the president and the prime minister interpreted this as a provocation. Just as President Trump and Prime Minister Abe sat down to dinner, Pyongyang launched its ballistic missile over the Sea of Japan.
北朝鮮のミサイル発射は断じて容認できません。
After dinner, the two leaders stood shoulder to shoulder.
I just want everybody to understand and fully know that the United States of America stands behind Japan, its great ally, 100%.
Not a foregone conclusion.
And, you have the maniac in North Korea, and, they maybe have to do something. Right now, if he acts badly toward Japan, we end up in a world war.
Out on the campaign trail, candidate Trump suggested Japan was taking advantage of America's protection while stealing American jobs.
And they're not even paying us. How stupid are we, folks? How stupid are we? How stupid are we?
Now the two leaders are jointly urging North Korea to abandon its nuclear and ballistic missile programs and not to take any further provocative actions. Here at home, the battle over immigration is heating up. Demonstrators took to the streets to protest a new series of raids, federal agents rounding up undocumented immigrants and deporting them. This as Trump's executive order temporarily banning travel from some countries is set to take center stage again this week. The administration now hinting it may file a new version of the order tomorrow, one that's more likely to pass muster with the courts. Well, this morning, the president tweeted on the immigration roundup saying the crackdown on illegal immigrants is merely keeping my campaign promise. Gang members, drug dealers, and others are being removed. But the problem is that what has some of the protesters so riled up is that some of the people swept up in these raids have no criminal records at all. Paula?
Certainly controversial. Dave, got to ask you, all of this as Trump faces another challenge with a key member of his national security team?
That's right. National Security Advisor Mike Flynn is under fire for discussions that he had with a Russian diplomat before the inauguration. And ABC News has also learned that the CIA is now denying a security clearance to one of Flynn's top aides, effectively making it impossible for him to serve. Dan and Paula?
David Wright with the president in Mar-a-Lago. David, thank you for your reporting this morning. And joining us to discuss what's going on with North Korea, ABC News consultant Colonel Steve Ganyard. Good morning to you, Colonel. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Paula. Good morning.
So let's talk about this ballistic missile that was launched. What do we know about its particular capabilities?
Well, it seems to be a medium range or an intermediate range missile, which means it's not that intercontinental, that really long missile that could hit the United States, which is where President Trump drew the red line with North Korea. And so this is a missile that we've known has been in development for quite a while. The way they shot it was not terribly provocative, but the fact that it happened just as President Trump and Prime Minister Abe were sitting down to cocktails last night tells us that Kim Jong-un wanted to remind the world that he was still there and still relevant.
Yeah, so the timing, as we said, hard to miss. Do you think this has the potential to spiral out of control, though?
Well, Dan, I think what's, we know that the NSC is conducting a review of the North Korea policy. We've seen U.S. military officials very clearly come out in the past couple weeks and say the U.S. will contemplate preemptive action if we see an ICBM on a launch pad in North Korea. That's new. So between that and the red line that President Trump has drawn about it won't happen if we see an ICBM, I think you're in for a much tougher policy in North Korea, but there will probably be a rollout here in the next couple of weeks of a variety of sanctions and military actions.
You talk about that red line. Can we expound a little bit? This very well could be the president's first big test. How do you expect his administration to respond to this?
Yeah, I think, in the past 2 weeks, Paulo, we've seen a red line drawn with Iran, where, quote, Iran has been put on notice, and we've had the president say that it won't happen if we see one of these longer-range missiles on a launch pad. So that means that if we see something, whether it's whatever intelligence capability we have, such as a satellite, we see one of these longer-range missiles, the U.S. is signaling that there would be some sort of a military action to prevent that launch.
But again, this was not a longer-range missile that we saw overnight. So not a crossing of the red line, but it certainly could come at some point. Stephen Ganyard, thank you.